Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Eric, my man.
My man.
My man.
My man.
My dude.
Jordan, no, it's my man.
I will not conform.
Joining us today, we got our sweet boy Jordan. This is your first time that our listeners have been able to see your...
Oh, haven't I done in front of the camera before?
No?
No, I don't think
We,
it...
Or you didn't use that one?
Right, yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I don't think it
You weren't looking your best that day.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, we
There's
finally... We would have recorded, what, 3?
yeah, we recorded a bunch, and every time it's like an issue. I like that.
Goddamn mosquitoes.
But yeah, and also we got Skyler here.
Skyler.
Hello.
Welcome.
How do you?
Willkommen. Yeah, today is episode 72, the Waaagh Energy and Weirdboyz.
You said the G in there.
No, I didn't.
The Waaagh?
I never said Waaagh.
Oh, okay.
I said Waaagh
Wow.
Energy.
Okay, you're on it. You're on your game.
Well, sometimes I am. But yeah, today is an episode all about how orcs use psychic powers and what it means for orcs to use psychic powers. And
Yeah, it's going to be a good episode. We're going to get into it at the very end for our Tales of the Warp segment. But yeah, a lot of people don't understand stuff.
there's a lot of goddamn idiots out there.
Yeah. I don't want to say that, but
I'll say it. I'll fall on that sword for you.
yeah, shitiots, you know. Goddamn shitiots
Goddamn
everywhere.
shitiots.
But yeah, so it's going to be a good episode. I learned actually quite a bit. We'll get into that too.
A couple things changed for our perceptions.
Very
on
drastically this
yeah.
edition. Well, I don't know if it was this edition, but
For me, it was.
For me, yeah, as far as I could tell. So that's interesting stuff. But before we get into it, we're going to do a quick little mini game.
Wow, we haven't done one of these in a long time. Mark, so, I don't know if I read that right.
Well, somebody messaged me, one person who's like,
Yeah.
I missed your long intros. I'm like,
Was it Christian?
no.
He did say that, though.
Why? Long intros are bad,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, I depends on how
The shorter
long.
the better. Unless you're like a really funny,
yeah,
like
unless it's-
engaging.
yeah.
Okay, so.
So not
So that's
us?
yeah,
Sure,
definitely
so
not.
Basically, no.
I'm offended. But yeah, we're going to play rapid fire. So we're all going to pick a topic for the other person, and they have to talk about it for 15 straight seconds and share as much knowledge as they can fit into it in that amount of time.
What we should do, add a little twist to it. So
Yeah.
I'll pick a topic for Skylar and we'll go around. Everyone will pick whoever's to the right. The other two people will close their ears. So Skylar will talk
This
for 15 seconds about it, and then you two guys have to guess what he's talking about.
Oh, so we don't know what you pick?
Exactly.
Well, just
You have
put
to,
it
like,
on your phone.
Yeah, or like whisper in his ear.
Yeah,
Oh, yes,
whisper, just whisper.
Yes,
it to
yes. Yeah, okay.
All
so
right.
doing that's too much, apparently.
It is.
for you
It
guys.
looks odd on the
yeah,
camera.
Okay, so I'm going to pick Skylar a topic here.
Yeah.
But he can't actually say the topic.
No.
No. That is going to be the key.
Yeah. That's going to be tough. But you know what? I believe in you, Skylar.
I think I'm gonna lose this game. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna lose.
It's only 40K charades.
Yeah, it's easy. Okay, so I'm going to start the timer.
Oh, I have a timer.
Wait,
ready.
does it have to be 40K related?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. We're not doing, I don't know, like your family lifelines or I don't know, whatever secrets your family holds so you two can win.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ready? Go.
He is the quintessence of human consciousness, and he is sort of alive, but probably not alive. And he is
Wow. That was it.
15 seconds goes
That goes quick.
Goes real
Guesses, Jordan?
The Emperor?
No, you're wrong. It's Marnius Calgar.
quick. Easy. I gave him a nice, you guys
Wait,
all-
which one of us was right?
Not you.
Son of a bitch, you're wrong, Eric. All right. Well, that was a good one. Mark, let me give you one.
Okay.
Let me just text you. Hey, Mark, pull out your phone right now.
This is good for. Fuck. Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
and go.
They're Space Marines. They're blue.
And
That's all I need to say. If you can't get it from there, that's your Romans in Roman times. That's all I got for you.
Who's their Primarch?
Why would I know anything about that?
That's fair, I think, actually. Wow. I gave him the prompt Ultramarines. 15 seconds
You
is
didn't
not
even let them guess.
They didn't know.
No, I was pretty sure it was Ultramarines.
Son of a bitch, I did it. It was me
Okay,
the
okay.
whole
You
time.
ruined it. Okay. Do you two want to pick a topic?
yeah, I can.
Okay.
But for who?
You can pick one for Eric, and then Skylar will pick one for you.
Okay. Let me send a text to Eric.
Yes. I love texts. It lets me know I have friends. Sometimes I just send myself like drafts and they like come at certain times just so I can be like, oh, I have friends. People are texting me.
So do you text yourself words of affirmation?
Absolutely. Like, you're beautiful.
You're beautiful.
Don't listen to all those other people online.
You're
They're wrong.
loved.
Yeah.
You're all that stuff. Nice.
You matter.
You matter. Your feelings matter.
You have an existence. You're real.
Straight up lying to yourself.
I am real.
I am real.
Okay. All right. This is gonna be really easy for Mark.
Everything is easy for me.
He was dead for 10,000 years, and he's been recently resurrected through the power of Xenos technology. He
There's a
wields
theme.
the most powerful sword to ever exist in the galaxy.
These are all so easy. Skylar, do you want to take a guess?
No idea.
Ruby Gilliman.
Ooh,
Got it.
spicy.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Oh, fuck.
It was Raboot G. You idiot.
Oh, girly man, as they say. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
15
There you
seconds
go.
goes
I've
by
texted.
quick. You get like 5 words
I
out.
hope it's not too hard.
I'm going to give you 20 seconds.
No.
Okay, 20 seconds.
George's like, I only had 15 seconds worth. All right, ready? Go.
Okay, it's a deity or a demon. His name starts with the letter S.
Wow.
Actually, her name starts with the letter S.
The non-binary
Okay.
starts with the letter S.
Its name,
I call Slanish, obviously.
Scarbrand.
You son of a
It
bitch.
was slash.
Okay, now we're all warmed up.
Yeah.
We did it.
I don't feel very warm though.
Oh,
Get Eric's touches in, then you'll be fine.
now he specifically went kitty corner across from me, so I can't touch him.
That's not true. I was told to sit here.
Mark was protecting you. You're protected.
Oh, great.
So
good.
So in the past week, since we're recording, Games Workshop released a massive tease. Not even a tease at this point. They announced 9th edition.
Yeah.
And for the first time ever, we are actually going to discuss that release on the podcast.
Yeah,
we
normally
never
we do that.
We
Yeah.
never discuss releases. We never discuss like fresh content out of Games Workshop, like model wise or rule wise or anything like that.
They had a video, like
a new trailer that they released. So
Yeah, I seen that. That was pretty neat.
it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So at the end of the episode, after
Yeah.
we've done all our orc stuff, we're going to talk about that. So stay tuned for that.
yeah, we're
Should
gonna
be
talk
pretty
about models, rule changes, videos, websites, teaser pics, Dawn of Fire. I hope you guys read up because we're gonna.
That's going to be the meat of the episode. I think some would say.
Absolutely. But yes, stay tuned. It's at the end of the episode.
Okay. One more
right.
thing before we get into our episode, we got a community corner here. So this one's pretty cool actually because it has some possible cool outcomes for our podcast itself. So this is from Matthew Malice.
No relation to Malice the Chaos God.
No, this is with an S and not an C-E. Yeah. And is making fan content for those who walk the path of glory in the Black Crusade or Wrath of Glory tabletop RPGs. So he does roleplay game stuff. If you need extra rules, equipment, races, story ideas for your chaos-focused game, then go to www.patreon.com/8pointedstar, all one word. There's going to be a link in our show notes. All the content is free, but if you want, you can give a donation, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind that. So
I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
I'm sure he wouldn't.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
But yeah, no. So
Stop giving me money, you sons of bitches.
I do this for the people.
Yeah. It's a gift.
People.
But yeah, it's cool. So he just makes a bunch of like extra rules because those books don't have everything, which it'd be impossible to do.
Sure.
So, but the cool thing that might happen is we're bouncing around the idea of him GMing a one-off campaign for me, Eric, and I guess 2 other people.
Yeah, but using his stuff.
Yeah, exactly, to kind of preview it and stuff.
Yeah,
and
just to take a peek. What's in there?
Yeah.
What is it like?
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I skimmed through some of it, and it looks all good. Like it's not just like he wrote like a PDF document or something.
Sure.
It's like
It's nicely formatted.
sure,
Looks
sure.
nice.
Yeah, it does the trick. It'll get you dicky sticky for sure.
Yeah, that's what I always say.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
It is now.
Mine claimed. Mine.
So yeah, go check it out. Yeah, you have to go to his Patreon, 8-pointed star.
Yeah.
All one word to go check it out. But you don't have to be a member. You just have to go there to get it.
Yeah, that's just where his content
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Well, that's everything up front.
Yeah. Yeah. That wasn't too long.
No. Could've been
Apparently-
worse.
Nice boys.
Yeah.
Nice.
Under 4 hours are we so
Yeah,
far?
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
we're well on track
Okay, perfect.
for our previous episodes.
So if you guys have a community corner, send us your listener lore. Get a hold of us on Patreon, on Facebook, on Instagram. Go support our show. Do whatever. You guys all know what to do. You guys have been treating us real well recently.
Spicy.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the actual episode then. Today is Waaagh Energy and Weirdboyz.
Yeah. So this is almost a part 2 from the last time we talked about Orks, which was Odd Boys and Odd Boys.
Mm-hmm.
We specifically left out Weirdboyz in that because there's so much cool information on them and just their psychic powers of orcs in general. So, should probably go listen to that episode first, but it's not necessary. I think this one would be standalone.
Yeah, I think Weirdboyz are different enough from other Odd Boys, it
Yeah.
seems to me, where they almost kind of feel like I guess we'll shoehorn them into the Odd Boys role, but do they really fit? There's only one very big reason why I say that, but we'll get more on that later.
Aha.
All right, so let's jump in with Gork and Mork and Orks in the Warp.
Gork and Mork and Orks in the Warp.
Say that 10 times fast.
I can't,
All right,
even
I'm waiting.
I can't say it
Do
2
it.
times fast. So
Okay.
just as everything else in the galaxy, orcs contribute to the chaotic energy that is the warp. Over the millions of years that they have been fighting within the galaxy, they have manifested 2 warp entities or gods, Gork and Mork. While they do exist in the warp, calling them chaos gods would be incorrect, as they are not a part of the chaos pantheon, nor do they function like the 4 very well-known chaos gods themselves.
Yeah.
So they are real entities then.
Yes.
Within the warp.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, so
I
this
thought
is
they
the
were-
big thing. Yeah.
It
That
kind
I
of
learned.
shifted
Because
a
we've
lot
talked
of my
about
perspective.
it before. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, and it was kind of, they were something that their consciousness just manifested, but
Yeah.
just for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, were they real, or were
Yeah.
they just beings that they just choose to worship? Or,
Right,
But no,
right.
they're very, very much described as existing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's
It's a
weird.
game
That's
changer
great.
for how
Yeah.
you think about orcs, for
Oh, yeah,
real.
for
like,
sure. So there is some kind of purpose to their madness then.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and
Uh-oh.
it's super crazy when we get further into our notes. Like, there's some really crazy stuff about them.
Opens up a lot of like narrative possibilities
Yeah.
for orcs.
I think I'm going
for
to start
sure.
playing Orcs now. I don't even play 40K.
I started painting an orc army 2 weeks ago, and I'm enjoying it.
Oh,
it's
nice.
it's fun to paint.
Yeah, nice.
We don't know when Gork or Mork were formed, but here's an interesting thought. So this is not canon, but as we know from like Chaos Gods,
Millennia ago.
as we know from Chaos Gods and the way that most of them work is, you have emotions and then they feed into the parallel reality of the warp, or dimension, I guess, of the warp. And then like the emotions form into a being of, actual thought. and
Anger
purpose,
attracts anger, and it just
eventually it
snowballs.
forms. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when the orcs were created, there's a very big distinction the orcs or the old ones created the Korks, which eventually turned into the orcs. That's all we know. We don't know how, we don't know why, we don't know when. But here's kind of my thoughts. So when they're originally created, they were the Korks, and eventually, like, they were still essentially orcs. They were doing orc things and stuff. But over, a million years or whatever, eventually all those emotions that they would like manifest and stuff went into the warp and actually formed the chaos gods, Gork and Mork. They're not chaos gods, but I'm going to call them that. So at that warp beings, it's just it's so natural. Warp gods. It's so natural to say chaos gods.
Yeah, it is. For sure.
But yeah, so they formed these two gods, and at that point they became the actual orcs, because at that point there's actually something governing them all.
Yeah, it almost feels like
Interesting.
At the moment that you have an ideal like bigger than yourself that manifests into a reality, like you shift.
Yeah.
Like something in you changes. Like, like I no longer just fight because I want to fight. I fight because Gork and Mork.
And Gork and Mork are literally telling me to fight, and they're happy when I fight, and like that's the big shift. I think that who knows? That's his theory. That's what I'm gonna propagate on the internet from now on.
Sure. Yeah. With no actual reason of why that's real.
Yeah. No evidence to back it up.
Yeah, exactly. I just like it. That's
I
all.
just like it. It's a great theory.
I'll go edit the Let's Canon pages to back me up. Don't you
The
worry
number of
about
times
that.
I've been tempted to do that.
just in there editing.
Yeah.
No, this is how it is now.
I have 40 burner Lexicanum accounts.
But maybe if you do that, maybe Games Workshop will start picking up that lore and get more coherent.
Interesting.
Hey?
I'm sure they listen to this for sure.
No, but Lexicanum,
I'm sure somebody from GW does.
they definitely
Probably,
are.
I would be surprised.
If only to like, what are they? What are those fuckers doing now?
Yeah. What can we sue them?
Yeah,
maybe?
exactly.
Are they infringing on our IP?
So definitely not what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Mark and Eric are so cool.
No.
Not that.
No, Mark's
Oh,
not
Nobody thinks that.
Oh, okay.
Your mom does, but she thinks you're cool.
Well, that's all the listener interactions I get is just with my mom, and it's all been positive. So,
only
we're doing
good
great.
feedback.
5-star rating and review.
so ultimately, we don't know how Gork and Mork were formed. We don't know when they were formed.
All we know is that they're real. They're here.
They are actual
Which
warp
is cool.
entities.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fucking
it's so
cool.
crazy.
Really cool.
So orcs have two base emotional traits.
Like, can you
Yes.
even see what's going on?
Not
there?
ideal. One is Gork and one is Mork. It's
Oh.
up to us to decide which is which.
Bring that mic a little closer, Sky.
Yeah, sure.
So they have two base emotional traits, brutality and bestial cunning, and these traits are directly related to their gods. So Gork is the orc god of brutality, violence, and war. He's the patron god of war bosses, knobs, and really just any orc who wants to fight without any mucking about. So they're just really direct about their need for violence and brutality.
Yeah.
And while both gods deserve their spot in battle, Gork is more conventionally understood as the god of war. Like, it's not that Mork isn't a god of war, but Mork would be your more standard knowledge god of war. Just that massive,
Wisdom,
brutal.
cunning. Right.
Yeah.
So, and this is another interesting thing about Gork and Mork. For many editions, Gork and Mork were interchangeable almost.
It was almost impossible to tell the two apart.
Yeah,
Every
like
action could be described as Gork or Mork.
Yeah. And like even orcs, I don't think orcs right now know the difference between Gork and Mork. Do they? It's possible. Who knows?
That's cool.
Gazkill
Does
probably
it
does.
matter what the difference is?
Not
Well, it
necessarily.
never did.
Yeah, it doesn't. But for us outside of the universe,
Yeah.
it's very interesting to know that we actually do know which one is brutal and which one is cunning. Where I don't think that's ever been the case
and
before.
kind of which like what they would patron.
Yeah.
Because like this whole describing the patron god of war bosses knobs, like I don't think that's ever been stated before, that like Gork specifically blesses war bosses.
Yeah,
Like,
it might have been Gork or Mork.
Exactly,
but
yeah.
not
Right.
specifically. So that's Mork. Then we got our sweet boy Gork.
no, that was Gork.
Or Mork.
Now we're doing Mork.
Oh, so we got Mork and Gork and Gork and Mork. Okay.
That's right. Morka Gorka.
Gork and Morka. Okay. So Mork is the god of cunning. You know when you say a word too many times and that
It
doesn't
sounds
even
weird.
Yeah, that just happened to me.
Yeah. Mork. Mork.
Mark.
It's like Mark, but Mork.
Yeah. Don't ruin my name for me, please. I would.
Too late.
I would appreciate it if
Too
you did.
late.
So Mork is the god of cunning, innovation, and orc strategy. Orc strategy. Yeah. He's the patron god of mech boys, commandos, Gretchen, or any orc with a devious look in his eye.
There's a little twinkle in their orc eye.
Yeah. He delights in every instance of his race, shocking and surprising and bewildering their luckless foes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's the god of creativity even. Like, mech boys are very creative and, coming up with these weird things that shock and surprise the enemies. Coming up with guns that look maybe really small, but then they shoot the biggest, craziest thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or like a massive gun that has a massive barrel, and all of a sudden it's a completely different thing that attacks you.
Sure,
that's not what it is. So.
Yeah. Look over here, then he smacks you under the table or something.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, that's Mork.
Yeah.
So Gork and Mork are said to be so powerful that they shrug off the attacks of other chaos gods with raucous laughter.
That's crazy.
That is a very interesting line. Korn comes to attack Gork, and Gork just laughs it off.
Yeah.
Korn.
So they're like more powerful
Yes.
They're
than
obviously.
chaos gods.
But
Yeah.
it seems like, well, as far as we know right now, they're
They're
don't
like a
really
chaos-
care.
Yeah,
either,
no, like they're not a part of like the great game of trying to
Right.
like fight all the other chaos gods or whatever.
Establish dominance in
Yeah.
the warp. They don't really care about that. They just care about having a great.
they're just
mucking
fighting each
time.
other.
Just a
yeah.
violent time.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
a great violent time.
Exactly. Whether that's against each other or other gods or whatever. But yeah, just the fact that they laugh at the other
That's
chaos
crazy.
gods.
Changes
it's crazy.
everything.
It does.
It
It
changes
really does.
everything.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Gork and Mork don't require to be worshipped in a traditional sense, as Orcs' way of life is worship enough. Their praise is found in tearing down the idols and places of worship of their foes.
Oh, like good Christians.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, that's all I'm hearing. they're Christians.
The closest thing to a holy site for an orc are huge mechanical war machines such as Stompas, Gork, or Morkanauts that Gork and Mork will often inhabit. So yeah, these are like giant robots. Like if you're watching the video, $2 on Patreon to watch our video. The one on the left, if you put a model beside it, you can kind of see the big toe. The model is just slightly bigger than the big toe. So
these are
in real
big- these are
life, the
big
model's
boys.
like it's huge. It's a
Yeah.
huge fucking model. And those other ones are about half the size.
Yeah.
But these like actually will inhabit the warp energy, warp essence, warp spirit, or
It's
whatever
almost
you
like
want
a
to describe.
possession.
Yeah.
Really. So
Mechanical possession.
Yeah.
But it's also like the pilot inside like becomes a conduit for Mork and Gork, and they exhibit like, I am Gork right now. I'm Gork manifest for as long as this this contraption works or something. Gork is here. Gork is blessing you. Orcs worship them,
Yeah.
and like they work on them together. It takes like many different mech boys and like mechaniacs to like put these together, and it's like the entire thing is like religious and sacred and viewed as like worship from its like inception to construction to them fighting with them.
It's a holy work. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Makes
really
sense.
is.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and that's another crazy thing. Like Gork and Mork actually come into our universe, which is very different than the other chaos gods who have never done that. So
They function very differently from other chaos gods.
yeah, for sure.
Gork and Mork care nothing for other races and are the main driving force of orcs. War boss Skazkul Meg Yurik Thraka, the prophet of Gork and Mork, has actually heard from them and that the galaxy belongs to the orcs and that he needs to lead the largest Waaagh ever to conquer the galaxy. There's a very cool little snippet in the 8th edition codex about him on his warship, and Gork and Mork come into this reality, and they there's halos of green energy around Thraka, and it extends to all his warp heads around him, and they speak as one with the voice of Gork and Mork. And
Whoa.
everyone
So
on the
crazy.
ship, everyone on the ship falls down and like bows down as these voices are speaking and telling Thraka about his destiny. And,
Yeah.
and like that's
That's nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
crazy.
like
Yeah.
the question was always whether Thraka was insane. You know, he's
Yeah, he took a bullet to the head, and then all of a sudden he heard from Gork and Mork.
Yeah, he had a steel plate put in his head, and now he's like, I'm the prophet, and everyone's like,
like a modern David Koresh or something.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is, but nice.
Got him.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been like a toss up whether he's insane or whether he's actually hearing from Gork and Mork this entire time. But this pretty much lays it all.
It's like a legit like short story that has been written.
That's
so,
really cool.
Yeah.
Reading it was really cool too. If you're really interested in that, go check it out. It's in the 8th edition codex.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, like even just reading that, like it just solidifies like these are actual things. Like they're actual warp entities.
I think it's cool the duality of them. So in like if this was like a human story and there was a warrior culture, there would be a male and female aspect to this, but because they have no sex, they're still the same gods. There's always the god of war and always the god of cunning and wisdom, and they always have to work together.
It's two sides of the exact same coin. Yeah.
Exactly.
How do you want to accomplish this?
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
Exactly. So I think that's really cool that they hit that kind of mythology in that too, bringing it in from our own world kind of.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Sure.
They're really good at that. Like the people who originally kind of came up with 40K, I think 2 of them were like actually. I know one for sure is actually like a history.
Oh, there
like
you go.
has like degrees in it and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, yeah.
You
Like
should probably learn his name. I mean,
I don't know. I'm not good.
No,
with names.
don't give them any recognition.
no recognition.
There's only one name I know, and it's Rick Priestley.
Yeah, but I think he's more of a concept artist and stuff.
Yeah. There might be another. Anyways.
To be honest, I'm not sure.
But they like original 40K in like their concepts.
Yeah.
Some of them were a little wacky, but
Yeah.
those that have stood the test of time are like solid
Yeah.
concepts.
Yeah, like this.
And this is a solid.
Yeah, this is
where
for
yeah,
sure.
they
Yeah.
draw
Like
from
the
all these
Emperor
other-
is another solid
Yeah.
concept. Like
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So, go. Sorry, Mark.
Well, no,
please.
let's be generous and offer it to one of our guests.
Oh yes.
Somebody else can read point.
XII.
XII. This one.
Yeah, subpoint XII of A. That's the one.
Yeah. Even though Gork and Mork are warp gods, there is no example of them taking portions of their energy and splitting it off to create demons like other gods do. Instead, they contribute their energy directly to the orc race itself.
Another extremely different way that the orc gods act.
Yeah.
They don't make lesser demons or greater demons out of their own essence.
Yeah.
They just collect and fight and then
Yeah. And
Pour it back out
Yeah.
onto their
yeah, and this is another reason why they're so powerful, because the other chaos gods have basically broken themselves into millions of lesser energy forms. So Gork and
Makes
Mork
sense.
haven't done that. And when they do like give away some of their power, it's literally to an orc to like manifest something powerful in him.
more and which will feed them back.
exactly.
Right? They'll get a
yes.
return
It's
on that.
the
Yeah.
possession
Yeah.
of the Gorkanaut, right?
Exactly.
Like that's how they are manifesting their power in reality.
Yeah.
Is through that. So
Yeah.
it opens up a lot when you shift your perspective to understand that these are real things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm tempted to go back through
our other orc stuff and take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to 7th edition codex and see how they describe them in 7th. Like when was that shift that they actually became actual chaos or actual warp entities? you
Like
know?
confirmed,
Yeah.
real. Yeah.
That would be cool to figure out.
Because yeah, it definitely has happened in the last edition or two.
Yeah. So that little bit that's all about how orcs manifest powers inside the warp and what orcs contribute to the warp and how that changes
Yeah.
inside the warp. And now let's talk about how
Actually, I got one more thing. So
sure.
So everything when they have emotions, they contribute to the warp, right? Orcs, they really only have a couple different emotions, and that's like violence and cunning violence, right?
Yes.
you know, so
Lust and hunger. That's it. just like men only have two emotions: lust
Oh.
and hunger.
What about love?
no,
Nope, lust and
haven't-
hunger.
I'm thinking, what else have I felt in my life?
Anger, rage,
Oh yes, okay, rage. There's
That
been
could
a-
still be under hunger or
or
lust.
lust.
fair enough. Okay,
Mark, you lustfully rageful person.
So my thought and my question would be, whenever violence is committed by anything in the galaxy, Korn gets power. But I wonder if Korn does not actually get any power when orcs commit violence, because all their emotion actually goes to Gork and Mork,
Weird.
and it wouldn't actually then go to Korn.
Huh.
What would be your thought on that?
Well, no, he would. He might still get some because of who they're fighting, wouldn't it? But
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
not
like-
from their direct. But
Exactly, like whoever they're fighting would still contribute to Korn,
Korn,
but I honestly don't know, and I don't think it's ever been written, obviously. Like, that's such a very specific thing. But, like, I would imagine, like, all the orcs' power does go
Yeah.
to Gork and Mork.
just makes sense.
I think part of it comes down to whether or not you believe you can worship multiple gods at the same time. If you believe that committing violence in Slaaneash's name can feed Slaanesh and Khorne,
Yeah.
then I think you could make an argument for the case of orcs committing violence in Gork and Mork's name
Sure.
can still give something to Khorne.
Yeah, I agree with...
But maybe he's still getting something just from the combat, anyways.
Yeah.
From
But
the
that's all I'm saying
yeah.
is like no matter like if you believe that you can dual worship, then even orcs would most likely fall
be
under
contributing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the only
some
difference
way.
is, like, and we've kind of even gone through it, like, the Gork and Mork are very different than the other Chaos Gods, so maybe they have a way to take all of the power, because I don't think any other race contributes to Gork and Mork, right? Like, only orcs contribute to Gork and Mork. So maybe there's some type of tie there where orcs don't even contribute to anything else because Gork and Mork are just grabbing all of the energy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because they work so differently than the other Chaos Gods.
Yeah. I think like are you trying to find a reason for why they're so powerful?
No. I'm just a general thought. Like, because you hear that all the time. Like, Khorne has to be the most powerful. Like, everyone's fighting all the time. You see, orcs fighting all the time, all over the place. Right? Why is Khorne not the most powerful? Well, maybe orcs aren't actually contributing anything to Khorne.
I think like intention has a lot to do with chaos.
Sure.
I think you can either just live your life willy-nilly in ignorance and everything you do still has a mirror reflection in the warp. But I do think that if you do things intentionally, you can compound what's happening. If you intentionally sacrifice to Khorne,
Yeah.
as opposed to just murdering people, one of those is
Sure.
going to offer more worship than the other.
Sure. I see what you're saying.
And
yeah. Like,
I think
there
if you
are-
intentionally fight in the name of Gork and Mork,
Yeah.
you are offering more power in that regard
Yeah.
than to even if you were to say it does do a little bit to Khorne.
Yep.
But I think one of the crazier things is that like Krork existed in the time of the old ones.
Yeah.
Like these gods might be 60 million years old.
Yeah.
That to me blows my mind. Like Khorne is 60,000
No.
allegedly if it created in the medieval ages. That wouldn't be 60,000,
Yeah,
it'd be
that-
40,000.
Yeah.
A
maybe
little over
low.
40,000
Yeah.
years.
So they're young.
Yeah.
They'd be young compared.
And
But
even
compared to Gork and Mork,
Yeah.
yeah, 60 million years of fighting with the most fighting race in
Yeah.
the galaxy.
the most
Yeah.
violent, brutal. Yeah.
So I
Wow.
guess maybe that's why they're just so much more powerful. They've just had that much more time.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I think you could go with either.
Yeah.
You could say orcs are different enough where like, oh, it's obvious that it's only to Gork and Mork that they worship.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I like your intention thought because there have been like Khorne following orcs before. So
yeah, like to those.
yeah.
I think you could go down that rabbit hole both ways, and you could find examples, anecdotes of ones that you think are specific to Khorne and ones you think
Sure.
are specific, and then ones that are dual. So
Yeah.
pick your poison.
Sure. What? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that threat upon my life.
You're welcome. You better pick your goddamn poison, Mark. You pick it well.
I don't like it.
All right, let's put aside Gork and Mork for a heartbeat, and let's talk about how orcs in the Materium interact with psychic powers.
Yeah. So I've pulled up this slide, and a lot of this stuff that
I can't tell, is this World of Warcraft or is this 40K?
So the one on the left is 40K. The two on the right are actually from Age of Sigmar.
Okay.
Which is a very different setting, but I really like the way that Age of Sigmar interprets like
Their artwork?
No, Waaagh energy itself. Like you can see like the very green, like glowing energy, and like in the top picture you see the orc's eyes are literally like leaking warp energy or Waaagh energy out, and then the other guy's like pulling it from the cloud. Like it's a very cool image of like this Waaagh energy that's swirling around.
Being generated by these orcs.
Yeah. So we're
Is warp energy ever depicted in such a way?
no, never really like.
You
Like
only ever
a wisp?
Yeah, you only ever really see manifestations of power.
Yeah.
You never really
Yeah,
see warp energy as it were. I don't know. I can't think of any artwork that I see like that.
But yeah, I really like that art style of just like you can literally see this Waaagh energy. So Waaagh energy, all orcs are latent psychers, and when a group of orcs gather, they start to manifest Waaagh energy. The more boys, the larger and more powerful this psychic field gets. And that's why I really like to like picture this like green swirling energy, whether maybe only the orcs can see it. And that's why, whatever, I'm trying to justify why I like a different setting more. That's fucked, but
I thought this was a 40K podcast.
I don't know. But yeah, like so orcs though generate like this like energy, this own pool of like psychic energy.
It kind of gives the green tide a new meaning.
Yeah.
Like imagine if over the horizon you can't see anything, and all of a sudden there's this green glow overtaking the horizon, and it's like light diffusion or light pollution.
Yeah.
Right? Like the more strong it is, the more light pollution there is. Like
it's really
the
cool.
middle of night.
Yeah.
You're just a city and you're a guard on the wall, and all of a sudden this tiny little green speck starts growing and growing on the horizon. You're trying to calculate, all right, how many orcs are there, and it just keeps growing and growing.
God.
And you haven't even seen a single orc yet.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's this massive green light
Yeah.
overtaking you. You're getting washed in like this green sickly light. Like I
That's
really
cool.
like that too.
Yeah, and even if only like psychers could see this kind of energy, I'd be okay with that too. That'd be very cool.
Sure. Lots
But,
of humanity have some psychic capabilities, so even a lot of them might see it and not understand it.
Yeah,
and
yeah, or like all Eldar would understand it, but you don't actually see it. But
I
I
do
would love.
like that idea of a physical manifestation of the field that is generated.
Yeah.
Even though it's probably not a thing.
No, it's not. So this Waaagh energy can be harnessed in a variety of ways. The most obvious manifestation, though, is Weirdboyz. We'll get to them a little more later on.
Yeah. Another effect of this field is that every orc knows who is above and below them in terms of authority.
Yeah.
It seems to happen on an instinctual level. As soon as an orc joins a Waaagh, or if something changes in the Waaagh, everyone understands. There's no like passing of memos to know who is the current knob of your squad, or who is the current war boss, or what. It's just when something shifts in the paradigm of authority, everyone just falls in line completely.
Yeah. And it's not even too that like the war boss has to be the biggest, so they can, there's like a visual thing. Because if the war boss maybe is more like if you had a mech boss, who would serve more Gork, he might not actually be the biggest, but he's definitely the most cunning, and that's why he's the war boss, right? So it's not even like a visual Gork.
Or Gork.
It's not even like, there's always going to be that visual aspect to it, but somehow they still all know through this Waaagh energy. And one way that that's possible is maybe all the orcs can literally see how much Waaagh energy they're giving off. Just like in that one picture, like you can see how much energy is leaking out of their eyes. So you can judge right away, like, which one is the most powerful by maybe the amount of energy they're giving off. It's all crazy nonsense. It's all warp shenanigans.
I'm less with you on that one.
Sure.
But I still see where you're coming from.
What do you like more? What's your kind of...
I like just the instinct. Like there's no reason for it. I don't think it don't want it to be explained or anything. I just want to be like, who's boss, and something just shifts in your head. It's like how you want to build something, well, a mech boy just understands it. Well, you want to take your report to someone, you just understand who to go to. So it just seems like it's the perfect ladder of authority. You're never questioning it, and that just seems like something the old ones would definitely make sure, like, hey, we know exactly who is on top. So
Sure.
yeah. But I also don't mind that. I just prefer the other one.
You're more right, but I'm just making up shit.
That makes me think of Gul'dan.
Oh,
he's even holding a skull.
It looks just like it. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, like those.
He was a sweet character. Whew, spicy.
So spicy.
Yeah, this artwork would be like way after Gul'dan too, so I'm sure it's heavily inspired. Very.
Yeah. Another way that this Waaagh energy is channeled is into the technology of the orc that wields it. This leaking of psychic power is the reason that, quote, red ones go faster.
Faster.
Sorry, faster.
If you're quoting.
Red ones go faster.
Yeah.
Or even how massive Gorkanauts may be powered.
Yeah, exactly. So the actual energy that all these orcs are making
it is having an effect on whatever it is you're wielding. It makes your choppa slightly sharper than it actually is. Right? So this is actually okay. I'll wait. So the stronger the orc believes in something, the more psychic energy is poured into it. Bombs will become slightly more explosive. Bullets will shoot slightly faster. Better gas mileage, or even biggest orcs might even grow way larger.
Yeah.
And this really old misconceptions about orc technology. We've touched on it before.
Yeah.
But we are going to talk more about orc tech and whether or not it actually works later in the episode.
Yeah. And to what extent this power of belief actually has.
Yeah. Because it definitely is Waaagh related.
Yeah.
Like there's no other reason for it to exist other than the fact that these orcs are manifesting something from another reality.
Yeah.
An impossibility thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, we'll talk about that later. Man, we got a lot that we're talking about at the end of the episode today.
Yeah.
Spicy. All right. Weirdboyz.
So Weirdboyz, they're capable of harnessing the energy given off by groups of orcs. Weirdboyz are a type of odd boy and are weird to the max. They're dangerous, unpredictable, and mostly crazy. So listen to episode 59, Odd Boys and Odd Boys, for more context on what an odd boy is and how exactly one becomes an odd boy. But the short answer is it just happens. Like a Waaagh
TLDR, we need one, so there is one.
Yeah, exactly. You don't choose to be a Waaagh or a weird boy, just like you don't choose to be a mech boy or a pain boy or a runt herder.
Yeah, it's just part of who you are.
Yeah.
As a Waaagh grows, Waaagh being the group of orcs, a campaign or whatever, so too do all the facets of that Waaagh. They require more mech boys, more pain boys, and runt herds to take care of making sure that this Waaagh functions. And Weirdboyz are exactly the same. So when enough energy is gathered in one place by a group of orcs, there has to be a way to disperse it. It's like static energy. If you just build and build and build and build, eventually like a shock is going to happen, and like to us it's not a big deal, but when that shock is a massive explosion centered in the middle of your orc Waaagh camp, that could be a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So instead, Weirdboyz are the conduit for this energy and collecting it in their head until it is expelled.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of crazy. You imagine like all orcs make this energy, and there's got to be a tipping point.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't be a single orc alone and not be a weird boy, but I'm saying at some point it becomes a necessity. If no one in your Waaagh is a weird boy, there will be a point where you need one, or else your Waaagh just won't be able to function, really. Orcs are just going to keep exploding until you get a weird boy in there to be a conduit for this energy. Yeah.
Sometimes, especially in new and untutored Weirdboyz, this energy will build and build until the head explodes, naturally. This is famously called Ed banging by other orcs. More common than not, these ebbs can chain into orcs nearby, also causing them to become channels for the psychic energy, and their heads also will explode.
Yeah, like
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so
That's not
fun.
good.
Yeah.
have you guys seen The Golden Circle? It's that movie with the British kid and he's like wants to be a spy.
James Bond.
No, shut up.
Rick
Come on.
Priestley.
You get out of here. Don't worry. It really Kingsman in the Golden
yeah.
Circle.
Yeah.
Okay, with Samuel L. Jackson, there's that scene where everyone's head is literally exploding because he put chips in everyone's neck. That's exactly how I picture headbangs. It's literally people's heads just popping off and gore and viscera just going everywhere. But that's
not good for the Waaagh.
no, it's not. Especially
Terrible.
It creates a chain reaction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because psychic energy apparently builds up in orcs' heads.
Sure.
And so that's like,
That's how do.
yeah, if your arm exploded as an orc, not a big deal. Right? You get a new arm, you put a bionic on, you shove a squig in there and it grows into a new arm. Who knows how it works? But if you explode your own head, there's not really a lot. You can't really
You're
come
not
back
coming
for
back,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since the danger is very, very real of this, of ed banging,
Yeah.
and turning into an entire group of orcs ed banging, Weirdboyz are often shunned to the outskirts of the Waaagh. They live in segregated communities in huts built on copper stilts.
That's cool.
These stilts act as a psychic lightning rod, hopefully causing any overflow of Waaagh energy to disperse into the ground. Which is
That's-
another very different thing.
Yeah.
No other race has that I'm aware of.
Yeah. And apparently, copper conducts electricity and psychic energy.
And
really
Waaagh
well.
energy,
Waaagh
yeah.
energy
Maybe
really
they're
well.
the same thing.
I always knew I was a psycher. I always had a feeling.
You headbang around me, I'm not going to be happy.
But yeah, that's so cool. So yeah, that they put the weird boy off to the outside of the camp, and he just channels all this like psychic energy directly into the ground.
Yeah,
so
it keeps everyone else in the Waaagh safe.
yeah.
I just imagine that like when this Waaagh moves, they like position Weirdboyz all around it
Yeah.
to like make sure that every area is covered and that they're constantly just siphoning off this energy that's being created by the Waaagh.
Yeah.
And the bigger the Waaagh, the more Weirdboyz needed, or the more powerful Weirdboyz needed. Like it's
cool.
it's cool.
It's really cool. Yeah.
When walking through groups of orcs, Weirdboyz are forced to take an extra precaution to warn others that they are near. They must wear special bells so others can hear them and avoid them. They cannot leave without a special entourage called minders, which are, without a doubt, the most crazy orcs to exist because they're walking around with these orcs who will cause their own head and other heads to explode potentially.
And they have no way to protect themselves from
Yeah.
it because they're not Weirdboyz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they like the sound of the bell, so, it's a trade-off.
Or the copper.
Yeah.
I really like the copper. Oh, yeah, shiny.
So,
They're ostracized, really. Like, nobody wants to be around them. There was one story in there where orcs, Weirdboyz even have trouble being around other orcs in a drinking contest because so much, like, energy is built up around orcs just banging their cups on the table, having a good time, that you might just ed bang from that if you're not careful.
oh man.
So,
What
yeah,
a
it's not
brutal
great.
existence.
I feel like, like orcs don't exactly have a whole lot of discipline.
No. Yeah. You've picked up on their
Yeah.
quintessential.
Yeah. I feel like this must be like their biggest existential threat is ed bang.
Their own.
Yeah.
We create too much power.
Yeah.
Because, even if they die in, like, war, that's fine. That's a good death. They enjoy that.
Yeah.
But to just explode your head for Waaagh energy, that's not
nothing.
good.
Yeah, no.
Boring.
That's bullshit boring. Yeah. So they have bells and special entourage to keep every orc safe. While every other boy in orc society can be content, Weirdboyz do not enjoy their lot in life, it's sad. I feel bad for them.
It's very different. Every
Yeah.
single other orc can find contentness with their life.
Yeah, they're all having a good time except for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're ostracized, constantly being watched, cannot fight or even go around fighting without risking a headbang or equally dangerous outcome.
Sad.
Sad.
So sad.
Sad.
When it comes to battle, like a Waaagh campaign against some Imperium city, let's just, off the top of my head, Armageddon.
Okay. Specific, oddly specific.
Weirdboyz would normally flee from it instead of feeling the pain of the Waaagh energy. Because apparently, if everything is building up in your head, that just probably makes for a bad headache.
Yeah, it's like an actual pain.
Yeah.
So
Minders must drag them to the front lines where they have no choice but to be a conduit for the Waaagh power.
yeah, that sucks.
It's like, I just imagine them on chains.
Oh yeah.
Just
If you've
dragging
ever
them.
seen the Weirdboy model, he's literally on chains being dragged by a bunch of.
Yeah, that must be
gods.
why I'm thinking of that then. Yeah. Do you want to read IX?
Okay. Weirdboyz are often seen holding onto copper staffs that they hope act as lightning rods, just like the ones under their houses. When the Minders bring them to the battlefront, they take away these staffs and wait for the Weirdboy to vomit forth destruction upon the enemies.
Okay, so there is the chain
Yeah.
on there.
see.
The
Dragging
Gretchen
him.
is holding it.
If you look at this one too, on the back of the model, there's
Oh yeah.
like this whole chain system and like
Yeah. And then you see there's that staff. So
Yeah.
those staffs would be made out of copper, and it's supposed to be another like lightning rod.
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
just put that in the ground when their energy gets too much,
Yeah.
and then it'll disperse it into the ground, which is
Yeah.
good. But in combat, their minders will remove their staffs, so they no longer have this safe output for their power.
yeah.
And they're just like, all right, fucking shoot your power.
It's a very specific science, very exact.
Yeah.
So the Weirdboy will vomit forth destruction upon their energy. They vomit out like Waaagh energy, just pure psychic power.
Yeah, and the destruction, it can take many forms.
Yeah.
From actual psychic vomit,
Yeah.
spewing from the mouth of the Weirdboy, to a massive green fist or foot manifesting from the heavens to smash their foes, to entire squads of orcs being teleported in flashes of green across the battle.
Wow.
So, and like, I don't think it's random, but I think there's an essence of randomness to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think they're ever intentionally being like, well, let's roll the dice and see what we get.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to manifest something. I just don't think it always happens how they want.
Yeah.
I think that's
I think there's probably always a lot of collateral damage.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's worth it for an orc to be around it because they might get teleported that much closer to
Yeah.
their enemy,
That
right?
they might even just see a cool light show or a good
Yeah.
old Ed bag.
A good old Ed bang. Some
You know.
orcs do find that hilarious.
Yeah, so it's worth it to be around them sometimes.
Mhm.
While the standard experience of a Weirdboy is terrible life, as long as a living weapon, there are some clans or tribes that treat them differently. Some Weirdboys even have places of honor, as their insanity can be viewed as being touched by Gork and Mork. These Weirdboys are treated as shamans and prophets, and their words are heeded and followed as divine interpretations.
The odd thing about this is when I was reading it, it just seemed like those that follow these, like, their words are insane and they're not, like, they don't make sense.
Sure.
So it feels like when you follow it, it said like to often disastrous results, which is like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
But it's because they really view it as a manifestation of Gork and Mork. And
Sure.
the more I read, the more I believe that.
Sure.
The more I believe that like this psychic field is like the power of Gork and Mork. It's when two are gathered, my presence and power is there, right? That's a
quote from?
it's a very Christian idea.
It's like that from the Bible.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it very
So not
much
from Community.
No.
Just making sure.
no. But it very much transfers over to this idea that the more orcs are in one place, the more power their gods are able to bestow upon them.
It's like a religious belief, kind of.
Yeah, but so it's crazy that these Weirdboys are actual conduits of a god's power.
Yeah.
Like librarians are not. Psychers are not conduits of a god's power. They're just siphoning off energy that exists.
Yeah.
But these guys are actually like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems very different. They seem
Yeah,
like they're
yeah.
in a different category than any other psycher.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So some weird boys are even in places of honor. We're going to talk about one famous weird boy who actually has his own Waaagh and stuff. So there are some that are actually treated really well, but
Yes.
all in all, you don't want to be a weird boy. It's
No.
not a good life. Your head hurts all the time. People are dragging you around on chains.
Yeah, you're
It's not fun.
constantly trying to like stave off ed banging by making sure your copper staff is always planted anytime things get a little out of
Yeah.
hand.
You're trying to sneak around at night. You're just jingling around with your little bell. It's
Yeah,
rough.
you can't fight like you,
Yeah.
because it
can't do
creates
what-
too much like energy.
Yeah.
And,
So with other weird boys, like there's a period in life where they're not weird boys, and then all of a sudden they just turn into odd boys. Sorry, they turn into an odd boy. So I'd imagine the same would be for weird boys because they are odd boys.
Yeah.
So for the first 10 years of a weird boy's life, they might be just like any other orc, shooting and looting, right? And then
going fast, having a crumping good time.
Exactly, having the time of your life, and then all of a sudden you can't do any of those things because when you do, your head will explode.
Yeah.
It's
Ugh, brutal.
It's not ideal.
no. So it's like you go from the happiest thing in the galaxy to just like it's not.
Misery.
Yeah,
But
I don't feel bad for a lot of things in 40K, but for
weird boys.
for some reason the weird boys tugs at my heart. It's the weirdest thing.
Isn't that odd?
It is odd. I don't get it.
But
They're like a
there
little kitten.
are
I just want them to be well.
there are some weird boys that have accepted their lot in life.
Yeah.
And these are called warp heads.
Yeah.
So while most weird boys are not content, there are some that fully embrace it. The addictive personality of orcs is exemplified in warp heads. Orcs that are willing to risk death by explosion just to shoot some energy off. So warp heads want to feel the pressure and pain buildup of Waaagh energy as often as possible so they can release it in a satisfyingly cathartic and catastrophically destructive blast. Apparently, like, I imagine it like popping a blister or peeling a scab, right? Like it might
Not
hurt.
an orgasm. That's not.
Well, are you pained normally by your orgasms, Mark?
Yeah, blue balls. You got to release it.
Specifically, not an orgasm.
Oh yes, but the build-up I'm talking about, and
He
then the
specifically
release.
abstains from sex and then puts himself in scenarios where he wants it.
I've been abstaining for 30 years, so when it does
I have
happen,
yet to do it.
it's gonna be fun.
But yeah, they want to feel that pressure build up in their head as often as possible. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming they want to ride that line of like too much pressure versus
Their eyes
death.
are like literally bulging from it.
Do you know
and
that's
they're
actually it's described as that when
Oh, really?
when warpheads and even weird boys sometimes when they go into battle and the Waaagh energy overtakes them, their eyes pop out of like their skull and their arms start flailing wildly and they can't control it.
Oh my god.
So like
That
warp,
picture in my head is just hilarious.
yeah, and they're literally
some
just
noises to
screaming
it.
vomit. That's just gonna burn through you.
Oh my god.
that's nice.
But yeah, the warpheads are trying to get that feeling as often as possible and
yeah.
as much as possible. So I feel like warpheads are constantly trying to ride the line of how much is too much energy before I ed bang.
Yeah,
And like you only ever know when you ed bang. Right?
that was
So-
too much.
Yeah, exactly. So they warpheads often find themselves in groups of other orcs that also want to either witness this or experience it for themselves.
Very cool.
Yeah, especially because we know orcs are all latent psychers. They all have some psychic ability, and we know that orc psychic power channels from like one to another.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that far stretched to think like if a warphead builds up sufficient energy and blasts it off, that satisfying cathartic feeling might even spread itself to those around, just like how an ed bang would
Sure.
spread itself to those around. So
Sure.
it makes it worth being around those guys because you get to experience some of that if you don't ed bang.
There's always trade-offs in life.
Yeah. Well, it's a calculated risk, but boy, are orcs
It's not
bad at math.
calculated. I don't. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you like that?
These orcs chase after this feeling and have no problem putting themselves in the middle of battle, which is very different than regular weird boys.
Yes.
To manipulate the energies given off by their Waaagh comrades.
That is the huge difference between weird boys and warpheads.
Yeah.
Warpheads love what they're doing.
Yeah.
Poor little weird boys on chains.
I can't go back to that. My heart breaks. I can't do it.
So let's honestly, that's kind of Weirdboyz, Warpheads, and Waaagh energy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's kind of very simple to understand.
It is.
It's not nearly as confusing as the hive mind.
No.
Or even just regular warp energy
Yeah.
or demons. Like I
Yeah.
think this is very cut and dry in how it's presented to us, especially in 8th.
Yeah, but so many people get it so wrong.
So many people, have very large misconceptions about orcs.
Yeah.
So
So, yeah, we're going to talk about one famous weird boy, and then we're going to get into some of these misconceptions. So the famous weird boy we chose to talk about is...
Old Zogwart. Look at that pixelated picture.
No, it's not pixelated. That's... No, I'm a professional. I get paid
You
to
did
find
that?
these images.
You drew that?
No, I just Google image.
yeah. Me too.
Fine. What is this picture better for you?
That is much better. Look at those snakes. That's perfect
Look at those
Zogwart.
snake- Yeah, that is Zogwart. So the one on the left is actually it's artwork from a card game.
Oh,
I don't know which
But
one.
it is Games Workshop?
Games Workshop authorized.
Yeah.
But it's not Games Workshop produced.
Sure, but they're
yes.
licensed.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool.
And the other one, the one on the right, is just the conversion. So, old Zogwart was born under an eclipsed moon into a pit of blood vipers. Zogwart was
Which are snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Vipers, yep.
Blood, yep. Zogwart was always destined for greatness. At some point in his life, he was old enough to bite the snake's back. And since then, he has never been bitten once.
He taught those snakes a lesson.
Yeah.
You got him good.
So, my brother Brant, when we were younger, like baby
Would constantly bite you?
he would, yeah. And my mom would be like, "Don't bite him. He's a baby. He's a delicate little boy." And Brant just kept biting me and biting me. So eventually, my mom got.
He knew you were a contest for your parents' affection.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't have this in the house.
Yeah, he was trying to cannibalize me for sure. He also tried to cut off my finger, and I still have a scar from it, so that was nice too. But anyways, my mom got so sick of Brant biting me that my mom bit Brant.
That's a farm girl for you.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
that's pig farmer life. And Brant never bit me again. So
If a pig bites the pig back.
yes, exactly. So old Zogwart learned this lesson too. If snake bites you, you bite snake back.
Yeah. Apparently also, and I have no idea how anyone would know this, but his blood is venomous. Like there's
He's been bit so many
yeah,
times.
well,
that-
he also like in his robes. There's snakes constantly underneath him and like around him, so he might just like lift his arm and snakes will just fall from his sleeves. So it's kind of his shtick now.
Yeah. Oh, snaky boy. I didn't do any research on blood vipers. They're not like a type of squig, right? They're actual. Like,
No, they're actual snakes.
Yeah. Okay.
So when Zogwart's powers finally manifested in his adolescent life, he joined war boss Scabguts and his feral orc tribe. So eventually, he turned Scabguts into a squig,
Naturally.
which is a favorite of Zogwart. Actually, he squigs up people all the time. He took over Scabguts' Waaagh, and he formed the first Weird Waaagh,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. Many other Weirdboyz even just would flock or attracted to this Waaagh, hoping to join Zogwart and have places of authority in the Waaagh, because Zogwart replaced all the knobs with Weirdboyz. So it's almost like a, hey, we belong here type deal, right?
Sure,
Because
yeah.
Weirdboyz
Now
are...
you don't have to feel so sad about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Everyone just go
yes.
to Zogwart. Go to him.
Okay. I'm glad everyone has a place and a place for everyone.
He's the weird boy messiah. Join me and drink my venomous blood.
That's nice. Yeah, no, I like this character. You could really do like a cool army, like lots of weird boys,
lots of weird boys.
lots
yeah.
of squigs. Like
Yeah, absolutely. Because he's turning all the knobs or old war bosses or anyone who challenges him
Yeah.
just into squigs.
you squig.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like the things that really allow you to create narrative and thematic lists.
Yeah.
And Zogwart is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far in are we right now? Time wise.
We are hour and 5.
All
That's
right.
not bad.
That's
Okay,
not bad.
okay. So let's get into misconceptions.
You dumb bitch.
So the biggest misconception all comes to how orc technology works.
Yeah.
This has changed over the editions, and also, I feel like people just make up stuff. They heard it once online, and then they go from it, but they never source where they heard it from. They're just, I heard this, and you never can actually track down the false information.
Yeah. I read it on a
doesn't
forum.
exist. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or I read it from some book 30 years ago in a white dwarf that no longer exists. Something like that. You can never hunt down these misconceptions, and that's how I know they're not real, because I've never been able to find them. But the big thing is, like, so orc technology, lots of people think that orc technology doesn't actually work, and it is all just this Waaagh energy that makes it work. That people keep quoting this one example of Agmech priests opening up an orc power claw, and then they're fidgeting around with it, and they're like, hey, wait, this isn't even connected to this. How does this all work? The power generator doesn't actually, it's not plugged in. How does any of this work? I was never able to find where that's quoted from.
Right, but people constantly reference it.
Yeah. Another really big thing that people say, and this one did have a quote. I didn't get to read the book, but it's relatively new, the book. It's from the Beast Arises series, and it's that orc technology doesn't work unless an orc is using it. And the reference is from a new book, and it's Vulcan or some, was it Vulcan?
No, Vulcan taps into the Waaagh. That's different.
Okay, yeah. Somebody tried to pick up an orc weapon and use it, and it didn't work.
And so then everyone believes, they say that. They say, hey, like, I couldn't make it work, so it must mean
that orcs don't work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every
Maybe that
single
one
piece
was
of
just
tech.
broken too. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the way Waaagh energy works too is we know that it does power things. So maybe there's two sources of energy in the gun. It has like AA batteries, and once those run out, it also gets powered by Waaagh energy. So if you replace those AA batteries, maybe the weapon would now work. The other thing is some weapons like the shock attack gun is specifically like functions by shooting a grot through the warp inside of somebody. So like obviously that won't work if just a standard Imperial citizen picks that up.
Because none of them have the ability to tap into Waaagh energy.
Exactly. It's no different than saying if somebody picks up a Grey Knight
Nemesis
weapon,
it won't work.
It doesn't work. It's like, well, no, you just aren't qualified to use it.
Exactly.
That's why it doesn't work.
Yes, the weapon isn't attuned to you. You don't have the proper certificates. Christian hasn't trained you.
Christian hasn't given that. So that was the only recent example of it, and sadly I wasn't able to find it in the book to see what type of weapon they actually picked up, because that could make a huge difference if they picked up a shooter or if they picked up a shock attack gun.
Yeah. Like, is your choppa not working for an Imperial guardsman? Like, doesn't Yarick, doesn't he have a power claw on his hand?
Exactly.
Doesn't he have an orc power claw?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That works. He took off an orc, and it works.
Yeah.
Orc technology, it works. Unless it doesn't, in that case, it's broken.
Okay.
Like,
another thing people need to understand, when we read about mech boys, they're constantly described as being geniuses.
Master engineers.
Yeah, people who can create something that works brilliantly out of nothing.
Exactly.
And you give a mech boy a littered battlefield, and they'll give you a Gorkanaut.
Yeah.
Right? A functioning Gorkanaut. So the idea that orcs are idiots and they're not capable of building technology
and that their technology only works because they believe
it doesn't
works.
ride. We know that they actually are smart and good with technology.
Yeah. Some other examples are orcs or mech boys will constantly test their equipment. Mm-hmm. If it just worked, if they believed it worked, wouldn't it just work? There'd be no need for testing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just say, well, everything works.
Yeah, I slapped on this.
I slapped on the gubbins and now it works.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Could it be that Waaagh energy sort of enhances the technology?
The use of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So, like, Waaagh energy will make a gun shoot faster, but the gun still has to shoot.
Yeah, it has to follow the basic principles of a gun.
Exactly. But the Waaagh energy will make it shoot faster. It will make explosions a little more explosive, but there still has to be that explosive compound first.
Yeah.
It doesn't just...
It's not just magic.
Exactly.
They're not just throwing a tin can and it explodes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because they believe it explodes.
It's a grenade. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because then, exactly. Then why have technology at all?
Yeah.
Why
Exactly.
not just use
You're picking up rocks
inanimate
and-
objects and,
Yeah.
and use them
Rocks,
as- yeah.
grenades,
Yeah, exactly. That's not how orc technology works.
or a tree branch. And they're shooting like mowing down people.
Well, Funny and I enjoy the visual image. You dumb bitch. That's not how that works.
No, I'm pretty sure we just went over it. That's how that works.
Another interesting thing too is like when it comes to orc aircrafts, they're very well designed. Like there's examples of like only the best mech boys can actually make aircraft because it's super hard to make something fly. So that's just another example of you actually have to have a skilled mech boy who knows
Yeah,
you
they
know,
understand
the
the
principles of
principles.
aerodynamic.
Yeah.
And even when you look at the orc models, they're the only ones in the entire Games Workshop model line that actually look like they could fly.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
they actually look like planes.
Planes,
where
yeah.
when you look at a Space Marine one, it's a fucking flying brick.
Yeah.
Like it only works because they have such big engines on it.
Well, and they make, don't they make spaceships too and stuff?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, like all of their technology actually works. Waaagh energy will just make it work better.
Yeah, it enhances its ability, but it cannot compensate for an or it does not compensate for an impossibility.
I got to drop in this funny anecdote I saw earlier when I was researching this episode today in Battlefleet Gothic. Is that that's what it's called, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I've played it. I should know, but they will put a weird boy on the end of a lance and in fucking space to shoot him at other ships. Yes. Yes.
Because of the wall.
Yeah. Yes, because of the wall energy.
That's wild.
So the lance still works, but when it really works when you put a weird boy on.
That's classic.
Jeez.
He's just out in space. He just tied to this fucking lens.
Oh my goodness. I gotta find this funny image now.
I hope it's there. I just read about it. I didn't see an image, but I hope it's a thing.
Yeah, this is like the big, probably, if there was ever a point for you to dissent with us on this, it's this. Like, we don't believe that orc technology doesn't work. Like, we're fully invested in like the orc technology works. Waaagh energy just slightly enhances it.
Yeah.
That's why red ones go slightly faster.
Yeah.
But the car still has to work.
Yeah.
Right. So your choppa is especially sharp, but it still needs to be a choppa.
Yeah.
Right. Like a tree branch could never function like a knife.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, and like technology.
Yeah.
Well, their weapons and war gear do break down and then have to be repaired.
Absolutely. They have to take them to mech boys
Exactly.
to repair them.
Exactly.
And they
They
have
don't
to pay
just-
them for it.
Yeah, they don't just believe that now their gun's not broken anymore. They actually go in
And they
open
don't
up
just
and fix
believe
it.
their gun is broken. They're in the middle of a fight and their gun literally explodes in their hand, and they're like, "Well, shit."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But there is some interesting like is it the Gorkanaut?
Yeah.
That it is also powered. I think we just said in this episode that it is also powered by essentially Waaagh energy
Yeah.
or Gorkamore.
I think that's.
Is that
Well,
different?
I can understand
Is that
it
different?
as being like a fuel source.
Yeah, exactly.
You
That's
could use it as a fuel source, but
Okay.
to say that it's like you could just hypothetically hook up another fuel source. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be Waaagh energy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It also helps the fact that these are religious places for gods to inhabit.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Right?
So that's
So
a little bit different than just the psychic energy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost it's almost a possession. At
Yeah.
that
Right.
point,
Right.
So
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
So, if you disagree with us, that's fine. I strongly encourage you to read the 8th edition Codex for Orcs, because when you read that, like we skimmed the whole
Yeah.
things. We skimmed so
especially
many,
go for mech boys.
yeah, like it's very clear when you read the 8th edition core rulebook. And me and Eric, we've talked about this before. We prefer Codex lore over novel lore.
Over anecdotal evidence.
Yeah,
A
and-
one-time...
Yeah. And especially with 40K where it's constantly changing and evolving and
And
stuff.
there's 30 different authors writing from different
Yeah.
perspectives.
You kind of got to use the codexes and the most recent codex as your baseline, and
then you go
novels
from there.
are going to be exceptions and might not even be canon. Like they say everything is canon, not everything is true, which is a way to cover their ass when authors fuck something up. But novels, they're not necessarily true. They are canon, but they're not necessarily true. Where codexes, I believe, are actually the way the universe works.
Yeah, it's a much more concrete understanding of fundamental things within the universe.
Exactly.
It's probably a good rule of thumb to just go off the codex rather than...
Yeah. Novels are great and stuff,
Yeah.
but
Especially if you want character pieces. Novels are
Exactly.
greater for character, understanding how a person would react, but for understanding like rules and laws.
Yeah.
I think too there's a lot of just one-off lines in novels.
yeah.
That, like
People
you have
expand on too.
you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't-
One
yeah.
off sentence can change the entire galaxy.
Right.
Don't get me started on the Silent King's representation on Ball and how
Oh.
people lose their minds over the things he said, and then when
Yeah.
I read it, I don't get anything that those people say, and it means something very different to me.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think a big problem too is lots of people don't actually read source material. They go on Reddit and they think that's what's happening. So they just
Sure.
feed off of somebody.
even
who's-
Lexicanum, you also can't trust Lexicanum
Yeah,
as
for sure.
foolproof.
No.
Multiple times we've been
Bombot goes to bot and
Bombot
explodes.
booms.
And it booms.
Only
yes.
grenade destroy Bombot.
Exactly. It's not always reliable.
Right. Yes.
But I feel like if you have the most recent edition of a codex, you can trust that. That's the way in this edition Orks are working.
And then you need to take that and fold it into your perspective of all of 40K and understand how things might interact. And this is a perfect tie into our next thing.
Oh,
It's Gork and Mork.
Wait.
Oh.
Sorry. We can go into it.
No, do what you need to do.
Well, so there's some big things that people think Waaagh Energy is capable of doing that I don't think it's capable of doing. The biggest one, and I don't know if this is more of a joke or a meme or if some people actually believe it, but the biggest one is like the only reason the God Emperor is alive because
God.
the Orks believe he's alive because they hear that the God Emperor is alive, and therefore it's this eternal loop of because the Orks believe it's a
Sure.
thing.
I think
Is that more just a fan theory?
I think
though?
it's an orc
Yeah.
meme.
Yeah,
Like
it's
if
like
you're
an-
an orc player, you want to feel relevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, the only reason your damn God Emperor is alive is because we believe it.
Yeah, I'm
I hope
sure,
it's a meme. I pray it's a meme.
I'm sure 99% of the time it is a meme, but I'm sure some people actually think that that's how Waaagh Energy works, and it's not.
Not even a little bit.
It doesn't. You can't just believe that a planet is no longer in existence and then therefore it's no longer in existence. Like there is a limit to how far the Waaagh Energy takes us, and like if you would put numbers on stuff, so a gun shoots 9 bullets in 1 second with Waaagh Energy, now it shoots 10 bullets in 1 second. It's not this huge fucking. They believe that now or purple orcs don't exist and now they don't exist. Like no, purple orcs exist. Like
Oh, sure, with enough paint.
yeah, it's just.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's almost like the how orcs work gets like wrapped up in like sort of positive psychology, you know, where if you just say it and believe it, it becomes true.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
They're just constantly
Yeah, well-
creating tulpas.
Yeah, name it and claim it.
Yeah, exactly.
Name
Yeah.
it and claim it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not it. Whatever you're doing has to is also exist within the realm of reality.
Yeah.
So the Emperor thing is such a joke.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure most people take it as a joke.
Yeah.
But the takeaway is orc technology does work.
Yes, and it's even good.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
When
that's
it's
a
not
perfect
breaking down. Sorry.
Right.
That's the
Or
perfect,
exploding in
No,
your
we're
hand.
exploding.
Yeah.
Like orcs work pretty good too when their heads aren't exploding, right? And then chaining and blowing up everyone else's heads.
I can verify that. I can confirm.
Can confirm. Not a great time.
Yeah.
So, having said all that, like that's go read the 8th edition codex. It makes it very clear. Just like in this edition, Gork and Mork are very clear that they're actual gods. And yeah, this is so crazy. We talked about it earlier, obviously, but
Yeah. It's no longer speculated of whether or not they're real and what they're like, what they would be like and
Yeah.
what they would do. They're very much beings with personalities and goals.
yeah.
and desires.
Yeah.
So that is a huge shift from my personal understanding of how orcs interacted, not only with each other, but also with their view of the galaxy at large.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's very different when you have an actual god directing you
Yeah.
versus when you're just doing it for a good time because it's in your DNA.
So I know your answer. What about you two? Do you enjoy that they're actual warp entities more, or do you kind of like the mystery? We don't know. Maybe they're the original 2 orcs. What do you guys kind of prefer?
Yeah, I don't know. There's always something to having a little like mythology and leaving things unexplained.
Sure.
That is that I kind of like in a lot of lore, but I don't hate it.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's
I think it adds a huge dynamic.
How much it just adds to the whole like what orcs are actually doing. Now we can see that there is some sort of direction.
Yeah.
Now.
It does leave a little less to interpretation
Yeah.
too, I think. So
Because before it was kind of just like, my understanding was that orcs were just like a raging orgy of violence, and they just kind of, they don't really have, they just want to fight.
Yeah,
they don't really have a objective or a goal.
Yeah.
I think this makes them a little, it just makes them better.
Yeah.
It just
I
makes
agree.
it better that they're just not a chaotic.
They're so much scarier now.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's
I'm
like,
way more terrified
it's
of
like-
the Green Tide.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, oh shit. So like, what are they actually doing here? Like, what's the plan?
They've
Like,
created gods that the other gods can't even touch.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
fucked.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it adds a lot.
I agree.
For me, anyways.
Yeah.
Just her story. But as Jordan said, like, I hope they don't explain everything or they leave it unexplained for a long time, because
Yeah.
that just adds. Because then we can just sit here and speculate forever.
Yeah.
and that's fun, right?
Yeah.
So
And then we didn't ask the same question for orc technology, because at one point orc technology, it kind of did just work. Orc and Waaagh energy and all that kind of stuff has made a change over the editions. So do you guys like it kind of more where when orcs believe their gun works, it works, or do you like that it's actually based in science and orc technology works because it works and then it just gets better?
yeah, I personally like in any kind of fictional universe when the rules are clearly defined.
Yeah.
And when you have something like that, it makes it too easy to just make up whatever you want
Yeah.
to do, you know. So
Yeah.
I think with that, having like Waaagh energy just is an augmentation to what they already have. It makes the rules a little more clearly defined in terms of the lore.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was whoever wrote Ender's Game.
Ooh, Orson
Orson
Scott
Scott
Card.
Yeah.
I'm
It's 10
literally
out of
reading
10.
that right now.
You're gonna
Okay.
read all of them?
I'm just getting through. I'm more than halfway through the first book.
Children of the Mind, man.
Yeah.
What a mind fuck.
Is it? Okay.
Holy shit.
Which one is that?
It's like 4 or
Yeah.
something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
okay.
it blew my mind when I read.
Okay.
I couldn't even try and conceptualize
I feel
what was happening.
it's like good, but I feel like I'm not really in the meat of it yet.
Ender's Game is
Yeah.
a very different book from the rest of the series.
Oh, is it?
Ender's
Okay.
Game is much more aimed at like a simpler reading level.
Yeah, yeah.
Children of the Mind.
Oh, really?
Like,
Okay.
I can't.
There is some like interesting stuff with his siblings and
It's
stuff.
very psychological.
Yeah, yeah,
Ender's
yeah.
Game is,
Yeah.
and Children of the Mind is much more like transcendental,
Oh, okay.
understanding like things beyond reality.
Oh, okay.
Whereas
Interesting.
Ender's Game is much more believable in its
Yeah.
essence.
with Speaker for the Dead, which is the next. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's the one after Ender's Game. It's
Okay.
it is the bridge for the rest.
for the rest,
Okay.
because the
that-
rest of the series is so different.
Once like the end of Speaker for the Dead, once you start understanding how all of the cards are falling into place, you're like, whoa, you
Yeah.
get like mind blown.
What's the one with Bean?
That's the first one.
No. Bean's
no.
in other ones too.
No, that's a spin-off, I thought.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
even that one is really
Yeah.
good.
Is it?
Okay.
I haven't read it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, Peter absolutely loves that series. He's
Oh,
the
does
one who
he?
got me
Okay.
into it. Yeah.
And Mark's like, I have no idea what you
That-
guys
I've never
are
read
fucking
it,
talking
but-
No,
about.
I've heard
I've
like
seen
Ender's
the
Game
movie.
is one of the greatest
I hope.
sci-fis.
Written by a Mormon.
Oh, is Card a Mormon?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. Well, he's written a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
not
he
just
has a lot.
Ender.
He
Yeah.
loves sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's written some fantasy stuff too.
Yeah? I haven't read that stuff.
But-
But anyways,
So the point of what I was gonna say,
yeah.
and it ties into what you said, Jordan, about how you like like things to be established. So you like a clear line of how
rules.
magic works.
Or
He was talking about
just in-universe rules, right?
Yeah. He was talking about how this has been a huge shift in how fantasy is written recently, because fantasy has become super popular recently.
Okay.
So a lot of sci-fi writers are now writing fantasy. And in sci-fi, you actually have to explain how stuff works.
Yeah.
It's not like Harry Potter, where every fucking movie they make up some goddamn new spell
that you've never
just,
seen before. That for some
Exactly.
reason, why hasn't it been used in everything previous?
Yeah, I'm actually
Save everyone.
on that note. I'm actually I'm on the sixth book of Harry Potter, and I like the writing style and
Sure.
the characters and stuff. It's
Sure.
fun, but there is a lot of just like magic explains everything. Doesn't matter. You can do anything.
Harry Potter
Yeah.
is built for an audience that is willing to suspend all belief.
right.
and that's fine.
You're just in it for the magic
Yeah.
of it.
yeah, and that's
Yes.
fine. It, like,
Which it is, yes.
there's nothing wrong with
View
that.
it through
Cheap
that
pop.
lens,
Yeah.
and it's a very good story.
Yeah, sure.
And well written, I think, if
Yeah.
you exclude all that crap she's added in
The plot,
after.
certain plot things.
Yes.
yeah,
But yeah, so he was talking about how a lot of science fiction writers are now writing fantasy, and they take that science fiction mindset of taking established things and actually making a world that has rules and laws, and
Yeah.
now they're writing fantasy universes where magic systems actually have a limit. And
Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
has very well
Phenomenal.
developed
Real
magic.
time.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting to hear that, because I also appreciate where there is upper limit to magic. You know what magic's capable of. It's not just a solve all.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that just adds credence to the whole setting.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I do like.
I will say the only thing I would say against making it too raw, like Lord of the Rings, for example, is very like steeped in mythology, right? And so there is like a lot that's not really explained in sort of the mechanisms of how the magic actually works in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, especially the magic. Yeah.
But it's very like it, just because of who Tolkien was. Like he was a professor of like mythology, basically, right? And so you can kind of see he's making a sort of mythological world and not necessarily intending to explain things to you.
Yeah.
But you can do it both ways, but I agree that it can become, in a lot like Harry Potter, it becomes.
I think the perspective of Lord of the Rings, though, is very different, because the main characters, Aragorn isn't using magic.
Right,
The
right.
hobbits aren't using magic. They're existing in the world where magic happens around them.
Right,
And I think
yeah.
that's what's nice about it is
However,
they
the-
don't understand it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it never needs to be explained to
That's
you.
true, yeah,
And
yeah.
Gandalf is always that mythical
Yeah.
character who's never understood.
guide, yeah.
He's raised from the dead. No one can explain it.
Yeah, yeah.
He tries to explain it, and he has to speak in riddles so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
understand,
Yeah.
because you wouldn't. So I think that's a perspective. In Harry Potter, Harry's actually doing the magic.
right, everyone's involved in
Yes,
the magic.
where in 40K, librarians are actually wielding psychic power, right? So there has to be some explanation
yeah.
on some level there. And then you have things like Lord of the Rings, where magic is happening to you and around you.
Yeah.
And it's very different. Like, you don't need to explain why Shelob is so big, because Shelob happened to you. You didn't create Shelob. You weren't there, right?
So before we get in this, he does actually open it up a little bit to understand those systems and how they work in the Silmarillion and all that stuff.
Yes,
but
yeah, I've
it's-
read some of his other stuff.
Yeah, it is like, but for its purpose in the book series, it was never meant to be explained. But then it's never overused, and it's never used as like all of a sudden, like, so this whole time we could have just teleported to Mount Doom.
Sure.
Well, we could have used eagles.
or eagles,
Yeah.
right? Well, they
There's a
could have.
reason why they don't, though.
Yeah, there's definitely a decent reason.
The Eagles don't involve themselves in the affair of mortals.
The king of eagles. What a great. Anyways,
it's not just plot armor, basically.
Yeah,
no.
Just
We never heard your answer. Do you like technology?
So I actually kind of think it's funner that it just their intention makes it work.
Sure. It definitely
I think it's
is
a lot
funner.
funner.
Yeah.
it is. Much
Again, just
more
a
fun.
branch as a gun, as a shooter.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Or maybe they ride a rock and it's like
Well, I told this one joke. I
they
told
paint it red and it
Yes.
goes faster.
I told a joke on the podcast. Would have been episodes ago. It was about orcs and about how like these guardsmen or space marines were fighting them and they just couldn't win, and they're like throwing everything they had.
Oh,
and
yeah,
these
I remember
orcs were
that.
just going tank, and they just thought they were a tank, so they were impervious to damage.
Yeah, yeah. That was
Right?
hilarious.
So Like that's kind of like the joke side of it.
Yeah.
But that is way more fun.
It's way more fun, but
Sure.
it's definitely cooler as just an augmentation.
Yeah.
For sure.
It
just
suits 40K a lot
Yeah.
more, I think.
Yeah.
So-
You can't just have, because then again they'd just be unstoppable. Then.
Yeah.
Everything's
'cause
a nuke. Everything's a giant robot. Everything's a plane.
All boys believe they're the best.
Yeah,
and therefore
exactly.
they'll never die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing against them.
So
There has to be a limit to something.
Exactly.
Other than Gork and Mork, they can be limitless
Apparently.
because they don't exist in reality. So let's talk about Gork and Mork being real.
What else about them would you like to talk about?
Well, I like the fact that they're established real, not only with Gazcool
Sure.
on his ship, but also Imperial astropaths have also had visions of these gods.
Ooh.
And that, like, I think you can pass off a lot of things, like when orcs experience them. You could say,
Easily, yeah.
like, oh, like,
Unreliable
head trauma.
narrator.
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, like, is this really real? Because an orc is telling me it.
Yeah.
But there was a planet that a weird Waaagh actually was going to assault.
Yeah.
And the astropaths on this planet had visions for months of Mork sneezing onto this planet and blowing everything away. And then eventually the weird Waaagh shows up and just like messed up that entire planet.
Crazy.
But it shows to me, like, if Imperial people are starting to show manifestations of Mork and go crazy from visions of him, it
Yeah.
just adds credence to the fact that these gods are very real.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just say, like, oh, it was just Gazcool Thraka messing with people, like making them say stuff or whatever,
Yeah.
because he's insane. But I truly like the fact that they're real. I like the fact that they're here. And I like the fact that other races have been shown their power.
Yeah.
That is crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Korn doesn't show himself. Slanesh doesn't like manifest in Imperial like dreams, and
Yeah.
so I like it. I'm very
yeah, it's
happy
usually
for
like
it.
they're demons at will more so than the
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nurgle isn't talking to you personally.
No. Yeah, no, I like it. It's crazy. So if other races can definitely experience Gork and Mork then. So we kind of talked about it. Could other races then help contribute power to Gork and Mork, do you think? We talked about the flip side of it, if orcs could contribute to other gods, but can other people contribute to the orc gods?
Could they become a part of a Waaagh even?
Yeah, like orcs, they do sometimes like take slaves and stuff and like create like actual empires and
Yeah, they
whatever.
can create civilizations
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah,
Right.
so maybe like orcs or some human slaves are actually willing to like join the orcs and like I don't know.
Fight with them.
Yeah, maybe like they wouldn't contribute to Waaagh energy necessarily, but to Gork and Mork and the warp, possibly. Yes, no, yes, no, yes.
I don't know. I don't think orcs. Well, orcs are kind of racist, aren't they? Like, don't they believe that they are the pinnacle?
Yeah. No, they're definitely.
I'm guessing
yeah.
like every
Tau don't.
Yeah.
except for the Tau.
Yeah,
but every,
I'm definitely a racist. Like, I don't like Eldar. I don't like Tau. I like humans.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think every race is racist.
Yeah, but I think there's like an aspect of like Gork and Mork kind of represent orc.
Yeah.
Right. So would Gork and Mork even allow a paltry, weak Yumi
Sure.
to give him power?
Sure. Yeah, that might.
That's a
yeah,
good point.
Yeah.
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 Like, are you
okay.
even worthy of being in my presence?
Yeah, that line alone definitely.
And they're
okay.
not, and they're not like the other gods in there who will just take
Korn
from
doesn't
any
care
blood.
what-
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
the blood flows
Yeah.
from.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Okay.
life goes to Nurgle
Yeah.
or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could make I could see one for either.
Sure.
But I think I'd probably lean to the fact that Gork and Mork are like, no, like my power's for the orcs. I don't split it off. I don't do
Yeah.
other things. I specifically am here for the orcs, and the orcs are here for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's probably what I'd go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, is that enough about orcs?
I think I got all my 47 grievances out.
Nice.
We can change the you dumb bitch slide now.
Yeah, go
I
for
don't
it.
have another one for when we're talking about the 9th edition release.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I'll just
So-
keep that up.
You dumb bitch.
Yeah, let's talk about 9th edition. So on Saturday,
Yeah.
last Saturday or whatever, they showed new trailers. They announced 9th. We saw lots of new models, all that Necron Imperial stuff.
Yeah.
Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty neat. What do you think, Eric?
It's pretty fucking neat.
Skyler?
It's pretty fucking neat.
Jordan?
It's neat.
Cool. So Patreon. Let's go right into Patreon and talk about how all these. Wow, we have a lot of new patrons.
Yeah. Thanks
actually.
everyone for helping us out and subscribing, supporting us.
You guys are awesome.
Hopefully, you guys are loving the video content that we're releasing on
Yeah.
Patreon for you guys.
How does that work? Is there like a special link in there, or how's that all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you are in a tier above the first tier, you have access to a video
Nice.
that you can watch this podcast on.
Yeah.
that's
So
really cool.
yeah, we have 4 different tiers. So you can do $1 and you don't get. Well, no, you get some benefits. You can like join our our Discord contests and stuff.
Yeah.
$2 you get access to videos, Patreon or Discord content.
Yeah.
Um,
And we're working on benefits for our other tiers right
Yeah.
now, but this is the first of our
big
nice.
plans,
big things.
as we say.
And the more you guys are supported, the better things you can give back
And,
to.
Oh,
and the
there's-
more we can do too. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like
Yeah.
we are getting really close to.
Making some serious big moves.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. We're just
Awesome.
waiting. So
Movers and shakers.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're almost at the point where we can declare ourselves influencers.
Well, I heard the
Wow.
official number for an influencer on Instagram was 6,000,
Oh, perfect.
and we're at like 14.
Oh, really?
So
I don't know. If
We
that's
can-
true. I just heard from an influencer that
Yeah,
had
yeah.
6,000. That is
who only had 6,000 followers.
Yeah.
But apparently you just have to put influencer in your Instagram bio and all of a sudden you are
an
Yeah.
influencer.
an influencer.
And just sell like
some spandex booty brand pants.
or just
Yeah.
just scam coaching or whatever.
Oh yeah, do like love
Yeah.
coaching or relationships.
We'll do lore coaching. We'll help you build your lore. Don't be an idiot. Make your Orks technology work.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I'm gonna list off all our patrons.
Doesn't influence things like the Waaagh though.
No.
Wow.
Waaagh energy. That's where it's
What a
at.
tie-in.
If you want to be an influencer.
Hey, for R there, I ran it through Google Translate.
Did you
care.
really?
I did, yeah. So if you want to say his name,
I would
or I
absolutely
can
love
do it.
that. You can do
Or
it.
I can try to do it. It's
All right,
Not easy.
I'll start it
Anyways.
off though. So thank you to Redeemable Grace. Thank you to B, Chamber 96, Victor, Dakota, Aaron, Mark's Nips.
You miss Charles.
Oh, I missed Charles?
Yeah.
Oh, Charles, I'm so sorry.
oh my lord.
Charles. Yeah.
Adam, Alex, Sebastian, Utahawks, Chandler, James, Alex, Lewis, and then there's our one right
Russian
here.
friend.
I'm our Russian friend Danil Alexandrovich Asipov.
Wow, I'm impressed.
I'm really sorry if I butchered that, my dude. Sorry.
Timbervarger, Jordan,
Timbervarger.
Philip, Bearded Geek, Richard Nixon, Albeco, Thomas, Ryan, Connor, Johnny, Connor, DK Jonathan, Derek, Tim, Adam again, Joshua, Steven, Matthew, Joshua, Khalil, Christopher, Johnny, Elling, Drew, Matthew, Ethan, Vaco1337, Amrit, Benjamin, Mark, Ben, Illuminor Squishy, Daniel, Captain Vampire, VGV7. Does that stand for something?
I don't know.
Okay.
Very
I hate
good
how you said
vagina.
Daniel, by the
What?
way.
Daniel, Nash,
It's
Derek.
a weird thing to hate.
There's just this weird like influx in his voice. It was just it got like real soft and
You're
like
welcome.
almost sultry. It was like very disturbing.
Daniel.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Nash, Derek, Doug, Jesse, Nordic Paladin. That's my guy. David, and then Charles again.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Wow,
everyone.
that's-
Honestly,
it's
and that's not even
crazy.
people who have increased their subscription to us.
Yeah, anyone who's like bumped yourself up, like
We
thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate what you're doing. Obviously, we hope you appreciate what we're doing, and we're grateful.
Yeah, no, honestly, like
For
it's
anything.
crazy. We never thought we would get. I remember in the very first episodes, we're like, oh yeah, if we had 100 people listening, I've said that before. It's like,
Yeah.
that would be fucking crazy.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, it's
That
just-
was
Now it's
awesome.
over 150,000
Yeah.
people a month. Like,
Yeah, and I still message me. I still try to message everyone back who actually takes the time to message me. That's what I enjoy out of Lorehammer. Like,
Yeah.
sure, the money is awesome, but like I've made some really good friendships through Lorehammer, so that's still my highlight.
me? Am I a
don't know
friend
if our-
you've gained through
I don't know
lore?
if our friendship's been helped or hindered through Lorehammer. Depends on the episode, I suppose. But,
Yeah.
yeah. And we got one more shout out here. Space Surgeon, you son of a bitch, you know what you did to me.
That makes me nervous. What did he do?
He knows what he did to me.
God. You know what you did. You know what you did.
You know why you hurt me.
Yeah, well,
That's our episode. Go check out a Patreon.
yeah, so you
Help
can
us
watch
out.
this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah.
You should watch it instead of listen, because watching is so much more enjoyable.
And we're better looking than Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Well,
we get a lot of
Jordan
comments.
is, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Jordan
get a lot of
definitely is.
comments like, "Oh, you guys weren't what I expected."
Or
I'm
what
always
does that
like,
mean?
What? Yeah. What does
What-
that
yeah,
mean?
what exactly does
Do you-
that mean?
What did you expect?
Okay, tell me. I had an experience when I was really young, and tell me if you guys have experienced ever
Did it involve
anything
an
like
uncle?
this.
Because I don't.
It didn't, but
I'm
it didn't.
Not qualified.
It did
to-
involve an older man.
Oh Lord.
Tell me more.
Tell me if you guys have ever gone through this as well. That's what I'm trying to say here. So I remember very young, and where we grew up, there's hockey rinks everywhere outside. Call them ODRs, outdoor rinks. And so we would go play like pickup hockey on these rinks all the time in winter. It's like all you would do. You'd bring your skates and your stick there and you'd shoot around the puck. Anyways, one guy was there, and I remember, and he was wearing a toque the entire time. And I swear to God, this is like over 20 years ago. He's wearing a toque the entire time, and he pulls it off, and he was bald. And in my mind, I had like a slight crisis because I was like, oh, I did not know he was bald. And I didn't picture him bald. And now everything about this man that I thought I knew is wrong, and I've been betrayed. And I honestly...
No, you were red pilled.
I honestly
got
had
red
like I had a moment where I was like, I had to like reconcile the fact
Yeah.
that it didn't
The
matter.
reality had flipped on its head.
Yeah, has that ever happened? Like, I'm assuming that's what happening to these people is
Yeah.
they're seeing us and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm dizzy. I'm gonna pop." No, another
What?
Matrix reference. He's gonna pop. Neo throws up. Anyways, doesn't matter. But yeah, like I'm assuming that's what people feel when they see us and they're like, "Oh my God, it's wrong." And they, or Altered Carbon. Have you seen that?
Yes, oh yeah. I've
Okay,
watched
when
both.
he's trying to accept his new reality and he
Yeah.
like his brain has a chance of exploding or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
because his face is different than what he is. It's like that. Are you guys' faces gonna explode when you see us?
Classic Ed Bang.
Yeah.
Head bang.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely.
I've never been betrayed by a bald man before.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Like I'll listen to someone forever, and then I'll finally see a picture of them, and I'll be just like, that is not what I pictured. I don't know what I pictured, but that wasn't it.
Yeah, but it got me good, and hopefully we don't get you guys that good because I had a crisis at the tender age of like 7 or 8 or something. My entire reality was shattered.
Clearly, like fucking 15 years later, and
20
you're still,
years.
20 years later, you're still up on it.
I know. I still remember that feeling very clearly.
That's hilarious.
So I don't need therapy, I promise. I swear. Anyways,
Thanks for joining the episode. That was a good episode.
it was. Thank you, Jordan.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Skyler.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Mark.
to
Thank
you.
you, Eric. Thank you to our listeners
Peace.
the listeners. And I guess
Peace
we'll see you
out.
guys on our next episode.
on the flippity flop.
Flippity dippity side.